And take it away, Eleanor. If you want to introduce yourself for anybody who didn't get the introduction, and then if you need help learning how to present, we'll walk you through that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I've spoken a little bit already, but my name's Eleanor Ross. I'm the director of game design here at Balance Games. I'm super excited to be chatting with you all today about my approach to game design and my philosophy. It's very heavily based in kind of democratizing access to games, and I'm going to be presenting on the power of LLMs and the ability to leverage. I know I already said this, but I hate the word leverage, but leverage AI in different ways in order to make gaming more accessible. I really do believe simulations are the future and a new way for people to engage, especially as attention spans are shortening and people, aren't focusing, they're not reading as much. Games serve as a way to put theory into practice and really break down that disillusionment that I think a lot of people feel and regain a sense of agency. So I'm going to share my screen or attempt to. Um, Apologies, y'all. I'm pressing share this window. Can y'all see my screen? Oh,
Yes.
okay, awesome. Let me open the correct one. Can you see the PowerPoint?
No, we just see your Discord right
You
now.
should see my Discord screen. Okay. I appreciate you guys troubleshooting this with me. Let me stop.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, so make selection. Can you see the screen now?
We see black screen.
Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
What are you choosing for your stream?
So I clicked share your screen at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then make selection. Um,
Here, share your Discord again, because there's
okay.
a drop-down arrow. We might be able to help. So at the bottom where you see the stop streaming, there's a little drop-down arrow. Click on that. And then go to change windows.
Perfect.
And then pick the PowerPoint.
And then go to my PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
No, we still
No.
What you can try
If I
doing,
can't
if
share
if
it,
I may,
yeah.
what you can do is when you do share screen, there's like this. I don't know if you can see. No. So when you do share screen, so go ahead and stop streaming,
Okay.
and then click share screen. You'll see this little window pop up,
Mm-hmm.
and you should see like two lists. One's applications, one's screens. If you click on screens, you'll see all the monitors you have available, and this will just stream your desktop as opposed to one application.
Okay. I don't think that's not popping up for me, but it's okay. I don't really need I'm gonna try this one more time, but it is 100% fine if I am not sharing my window because I can just present without it.
If you want, if it's a slide deck, you can always send it to me and I can present. So you just tell me next slide. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
we got
Oh,
it.
now we see it.
Got it? Okay, awesome. I was thinking of getting it. You see the Balance Games, Digital Horizons?
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. Okay. Is it still here?
Yep.
Perfect. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, this is my first time using Discord for a presentation other than on Foresight Games, which is another gaming. So, like I said, I'm going to be talking about how AI is changing the game, literally. So the problem is, I believe games are currently inaccessible to many, and they're super time consuming to create. And so LLMs are what I believe are really the solution. They're the great equalizer and they democratize access to games. So the style of games I primarily create are something I call immersive exercises. So the games I do, I purposefully make sure that they're deep characters that have narratives that, maybe you only see a little part of the character in the game, but if you pull the thread, there's a 6-page document that I can and a backstory that I have the games. I truly believe that if people are having fun while playing games, you're going to learn so much more. Humans are really storytelling creatures, but those stories historically have taken so long to create. that 6-page document, even 2 years ago, would have taken me hours to write out and to think out. But with LLMs, I can, put an idea in and develop it with, ChatGPT or with the platform that I'm going to show you. And by creating and adding these stories, I think we're making much stronger games that people remember. So like I said, LLMs really equalize the platform and the ways that people can access games. They allow you to create a world that lives and breathes. And most importantly, they allow you to adapt pre-existing games to a changing environment. So I'm running a game in just next week actually, called Arctic Awakenings. It's a game based on Arctic competition, but also military advancements with a few different teams. North Korea is one that I'm super excited. I hope someone has a fun time playing that. China, Russia, Canada, and the US. So those are the 5 teams. And throughout the entire game, we historically we've referred to Prime Minister Trudeau. Well, Trudeau just announced he is resigning. Now, quite literally a few months ago, that would have taken hours to go through each material, check through it, change out Trudeau. And I know this seems like a small thing, but it takes a lot of time. And that time takes away creative energy that I could be building to making better storylines or doing more research. There's a big hypersonic missile crisis throughout this game, and doing the research to make sure that that is accurate, or interviewing a North Korea subject matter expert. But instead, I'm using that time changing Prime Minister Trudeau to whatever Prime Minister, is next. And LLMs allow me to adapt that pre-existing game into a changing environment. And that's just a really simple example. But another thing it does, they allow you to quickly, I'm referencing me, but also y'all, to quickly build games. So I mentioned before we started recording about how Valens, which is the company I work for, will be soon running a game on Syria. The Syria crisis is ongoing currently. The Bashar al-Assad, his regime has fallen. And previously, before the big LLM revolution, it would have taken, many people working around the clock to create a game in 1 week. My team created a game in 1 day. And, we're very lucky. We have, our platform that I'll show you. And obviously, the platform is still, I would say even like 2% of what it will eventually be. And we have a subject matter expert as our CEO, David, who, has a strong background in Syria. So we were allowed to pull on those threads. But we were able to create a game and spin up something that people can learn from and think about the future so quickly, when this wouldn't have been possible before. I think that creating games like this really show people the different ways that you can think about situations. Instead of just reading, 15 op-eds, you could put all those op-eds into an LLM, and then with correct prompt engineering, because this doesn't replace game designers. I'm going to get to that in a second, but LLMs absolutely do not replace game designers. But you put all that information into an LLM, and then you have background knowledge that can be the basis for a game that you design. So like I said, LLMs are your creative co-pilot. They do not replace designers. You can see this photo here. This is one of my favorite photos. This is the first game I actually had the pleasure of running. It was a game called Acceleration, which is a game about fault lines within society. We ran it at Duke University. Like I said, presenting for students is something I'm really passionate about. I think, games, while they definitely teach you about various topics, they're a really great way to make people think out of the box and learn spot research, learn how to engage with others and debate topics, and know when to, listen to others. So that's just an aside about, this is the first game I ever put on. But like I said, LLMs do not replace designers. They require really thoughtful prompts and high quality inputs to generate meaningful outputs. They let you design faster and smarter and more creatively. So you're allowed to spend, not even allowed, you're empowered to spend that extra time, researching and writing out, I have a whiteboard I use, writing out those big storylines and digging into the material, and less time fiddling with words. Or you do fiddle with words, after the LLM produces, but designing the framework before you go in and make it your own. They're make you have the ability to adapt games to a changing reality with speed and precision. Like I said, I think I mentioned this, but you focus on character development, the storylines, the world building, and you let the LLMs design the minutia. So we're going to design a game together in a minute, and I want everyone hopefully to come in, we'll get a concept together, we'll create a game, and materials will pop out, but they will be based on your thoughts, your ideas as a game designer. I would say, LLMs, or Providence specifically, honestly, the platform we use that y'all will have access to, can get you, right now as it is, about 60% of the way there. Eventually what we'll have is we'll get you about 80% of the way there. But without your knowledge and without your high quality inputs, it's not going to create high quality outputs or even medium quality outputs. You need to design something that really is inspiring and works with the background you have. I just want to circle back to why I'm so passionate about games really briefly. I really think that games are thinking labs. They bring a crazy level of interest to people that I think they often will not find before. My background previously is more, I hate, saying cultural immersion, but my background is language. I spent about 2 years in Western North Africa studying French, Arabic, and Wolof, which is a language found in Senegal and parts of the Gambia and Lower Mauritania. And I came back to the States really excited about, entering a nonprofit perhaps. And I eventually switched to more of the national security space, and I found myself really disillusioned by the impacts that I thought I could make. Found myself, feeling like I didn't have any agency. I feel like games, and my intro was in a class actually where I was part of a simulation, really gave me that agency that I didn't have previously or didn't feel I could make a change. I think people, whether in the government or companies, kind of often get lost in the bureaucracy. And by putting games and making them more accessible to different people, and in different venues, I mentioned companies, government, but also I think, the lower we can get this down, the better, the lower the totem pole, not just university students, but high school students. Instead of perhaps reading about the Treaty of Versailles, you're acting it. You're actually engaging in those negotiations. And it's easy for teachers to implement that. That is something I wish I had, in high school or in middle school or even elementary school. And right now the barriers to entry are still high. But with Providence and with, the adaptations that all of you are creating and what we're all doing together, those barriers are going to be lower and lower. And I really think it's going to create a generation of people who are less polarized. And by that, I mean who are able to actually discuss. Everyone has really strong opinions and super entitled to them. But I think as Americans, or whatever nationality you are, a lot of us have lost our ability to engage in conversations. And games, are thinking labs. They push people to actually engage in those conversations. I just created a game for, a DoD component. And in the game, people have to act as East African nation. These are trained individuals, and they have to put on the shoes of something completely outside of their background. And in order to win, which everyone, has a want to win, you have to completely change your thought process. And I think that is what games can do. They can make you see and understand those levels of complexity that you won't find from just reading a textbook or engaging in a quick conversation. And so that's what LLMs and AI can provide. They can provide that storytelling aspect. They can let you have that open-ended exploration, which again is guided by skilled referees like y'all and game designers like you guys. And then when you're immersed more you have real learning. Real learning happens in those details. You remember that tiny extra aspect of some game, and that later on reflects in your work or your engagement with others. And the final thing I want to add here is that LLMs make games replayable. So you have endless conclusions here that make sure two games are never the same. We'll create a game together, and then people could engage in that game and play it. And then the same people could play it, and it could have a completely different outcome. And it could be interesting just the same, and different insights are pulled out of it. But I think, that is something that was much harder to do previously. So, the democratizing access to AI, to games through AI is something that I think as emerging game designers or established game designers, whatever all y'all are, you need to, or you should be looking as a tool, like as a tool in your tool belt that you can pull out and use to become the best game designer you can be. And like I've only been doing this, I'll be frank, I've only been doing this 8 months. I'm very new to this. I've played games before, I've been involved, but this is my first full-time job working in simulations and immersive exercise and gaming. But already I've seen the field transform with this, and I think having knowledge of it and being at the forefront of it will make a really big difference going ahead. And this is my contact information. I'd really love to chat with any of you if you're interested. Obviously, I'm gonna create a game with all y'all in a second, but I'd love to answer if you guys have any questions before we create a game together. I'm gonna attempt to stop sharing my screen. Did that work?
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
I have I guess a leading question. Could you talk to, I guess, the research or I guess the other people on the team who work on Provenance that lend it credibility to its outputs?
Yeah, absolutely. So our team is based, our CTO is, I don't know how much I can say about his exact job, but he is military. I'll just say that. He's still working. And the majority of our team are people who have been doing war games their entire life, on the engineering side of things. We really, I say David and I, David's the CEO who founded the company. We're coming at it from more of the educational side, from, seeing the impacts of people, but we wanted to have both frameworks. So the people behind the scenes who are creating the LLM or Provenance are people who have been doing this for years and have been coding for years. And we, like I said before we started recording, we just hired someone full-time to help improve our AI. So we have a proprietary content manager. So right now you can upload up to 1,000 pages of information into Provenance, the platform, and it will remember and pull from that, which is unheard of currently in this space, at least to my knowledge. And so I would say that all lends credibility to the platform. Especially another thing I can add is the fact that we're all using it. So y'all will use it. I would like to emphasize this is about 2% of what it will eventually be. But the fact that we're engaging with game designers, and we've already sold, licenses, and, entered the market. And I use it personally, Provenance, to create my games. And I would say, especially for someone, I'm not even going to say that. I would say I'm a very capable game designer. I really am proud of the work I do. I think it makes a really big impact. And I use Provenance myself to help create games and help me think out different vectors. So I would say all those different aspects lend to the credibility of what we're building.
Awesome.
I don't know if you can speak to this or not, but would you be able to speak to your customer's goal for the Syria game? Like, what do they want to get out of it?
Yeah, so it really depends per customer. I would say currently we're selling primarily to war game corporations or like larger war games because we do have a strong narrative aspect in our games that we're really proud of and that we're building out still. But the other big subset we're selling to is universities. So teachers are really using the platform in order to get students to engage in games at a more macro level, more like as a capstone project. We're running a game up at Northwestern University in a few weeks, I believe, and it'll be a course long game run through Providence, produced by Providence, which again is the platform about democracy. And so I know that I was speaking to this professor, and he said each week of the class could be an entire course in itself. But instead, we're putting it all into one class. 1 week is about courts. 1 week is about inequality and democracy. And so this game brings all of those things together, and then students play it throughout. And so it brings concepts as one. And so people are engaging and seeing the different overlaps. So I would say kind of as the primary output I see right now is more in terms of bridging gaps and creating ways for people to visualize and engage with material actively and proactively as opposed to passively.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. If y'all have any more questions, that's 100% fine. I'm happy to create the game with y'all. I just wanted to open up the floor in case y'all did.
Eleanor, I think at the beginning of the presentation you were talking about another type of game or something else that you made reference to. I think you mentioned the word foresight. Can you kind of talk about what that might be?
Yeah, so I mentioned that the only other time I've used Discord is for Foresight Games. Foresight Games is another Discord that I'm happy to share access with it to y'all. It's another gaming community. It's another wargaming community. They've been really interested in. Or did Kevin just send it out? I think that's what he did. I'm also happy to share it. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, not 100% familiar with how this works. But it's another wargaming community that's been really interested in the future of LLMs. They also hold open to the public classes. So that could be of interest to the rest of y'all. Something I attend and listen to and read up on.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I guess
Awesome.
it's game time now.
It seems like it is game time. So let me share my. Bear with me again, y'all. Okay, this is happening. Can y'all see?
Yep,
Yes.
you're a professional now.
Amazing. Look at this. So much time and energy put in. So y'all can see the screen. It says "Welcome to Providence."
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. Perfect. So this is Providence. Like I said, we're about 2% of what we eventually will be. You can see down here, we're getting new feature updates constantly. So things are improving all the time. I mentioned, I think to Nathan earlier, y'all will all have demo codes. So y'all will have access to this platform for the next 45 days. Because I don't have y'all's all personal emails, I would really suggest following our LinkedIn. It's Balance Games. We post there pretty much every time we do a big update. We do a big update once a week, usually once every other week. And so come onto the platform. It really changes. Like I said, we're really relatively new. We're only 8 months old. So the changes are pretty monumental. So these are the games that I've created previously. So Northwest Passage, A New Frontier, Social Media, 2028, The Future of America. This is a game I ran, a short version, and this is a test. So you can actually play as a player. One thing that we're adding right now is you can do it. This is an interface. So instead of, playing over Microsoft Teams, which is the bane of my existence, but the best option currently to play games, you can play a game fully through Providence. Awesome. So we're going to create a game now. Super pumped to do this with y'all. So I would like, all of us to work together and create an idea. We're just gonna lead us through a series of prompts. So first question is, what time period will set the stage for the game? Does anyone have any ideas or something that's been, on their mind recently?
I'm gonna go ahead and be the fun teacher and just say top to the bottom from the voice channel. So starting with Adrian, you take the first one.
Sorry, near future.
Near future? Okay. Awesome. So let's do 20, I don't know, what is it? 2020, 2026? That sound good?
Sure.
Awesome. So what's going on in 2026? What's a focus we want to pinpoint on? A topic.
Is that still me, Kevin?
Yep, yep.
Chinese landing barges.
Chinese landing barges? Okay. Does everyone know about Chinese landing barges? Because I want this to be a collaborative game building exercise.
Not entirely.
So maybe we make something, because you'll have access to this, Adrian, so you can make a game
Yeah.
based on that 100% yourself. I'd like to do something just a little more general.
Rare earth metals.
Rare earth metals, awesome. Earth metals, and maybe we do and who has access to them. Add next. Okay, so what is the central focus of the game world? So Kevin, maybe we go to the next person. Maybe we set up where this problem is occurring or where the discussion is being taken place.
It's all you, Bradley.
Let's do political power struggle related to Arctic.
Do the Arctic?
Yes, political power struggle around the Arctic.
Cool. So we're gonna keep it within the same universe. So I'm gonna say political power struggle related to the Arctic. Rare earth metals are needed to create the technology necessary to explore the Arctic now that the Northwest Passage has melted. So we make sure we include the rare earth element. Awesome. So any special rules that want to shape the world? So, we can have victory conditions, resource management. That sounds like something that might be interested. Supply lines, unpredictable challenges. Kevin, who's next?
I'll say Cassie can take a stab at it, but if she gets stumped, I'll try to help out.
Yeah, why don't we concern ourselves with resource management and the ability to actually access it inside the crust, like since they're hard to get to.
Awesome. How will we actually acquire materials? Cool. So let's do some team names. I have some ideas on my end, but after Cassie, who's next?
It'll be Julian.
Okay, team names. We have Donovia, the Nonovian Republic,
Novian Republic.
McDonald'sy,
McDonald'sy?
yeah, and Blackland.
Amazing.
Who else is up there?
Let's do near peer simulations. We can add them. We can add y'all, a group of activists. Why not? And Norway, you said? One real one?
Norway.
No way. Awesome. That seems good. So what next after you, what tone do we want the atmosphere to be? Do we want it to be philosophical? Do we want it to be dark? Maybe high stakes tension?
I'll let you take that one, Nathan.
Oh no, don't ask me that question. Ooh. I love the political games that involve nuclear weapons. Let's go dark and gritty.
Dark and gritty, yeah. Awesome. And then any central themes we want to guide gameplay?
It's all you, Chris.
Let's go with fragility of civilization.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about McDonald's and No Way, how they end up in Blackland. So this is how much player actions influence the game world. So I just like to go moderate. So that means, we can guide the play world, and we have more adjudication power on our end. So how long is the game gonna last? This is, we can run it for 4 hours, let's just say. And how many turns? Let's just say 5. So it's producing a good amount of materials for y'all. And what are we naming the game? Who's next?
Sean,
Ooh.
the hardest question of all.
Yes. What is a name? What's in a name?
One sec. I got it on tip of my tongue.
I don't think I've ever actually successfully named a game that I've made.
I've got one as a backup.
The McRare.
The McWeird. Like that?
Yeah, no,
the
rare.
McRare.
Like
Like
McRarer.
Rare.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excuse me. And what are we naming the world? So one thing about Providence is you can play multiple games within the same world. So this rare earth element, fictionalized world we just created, can have multiple games in it. So we just did one about the Arctic, but hypothetically, maybe we're doing one based in like a fictionalized version of Africa. So you could do that in the same world. So what are we naming the world? It's the McRare game, but in the world, is it the McWorld?
What do you think, Tyler?
I think McWorld is perfect.
Perfect. I feel like it should be all caps. The McWorld. Pretty aggressive. And then how much time should pass in the game with each turn? So I would say, we can either do 1 month, 1 year, a few years. What do y'all think?
It's up to you, Andrea.
1 week.
1 week? Awesome. So now it's gonna create the game for us. Yeah, so it takes a little. It doesn't take that long. It depends on how much materials. Right now, this is a updated version of Providence. So in the beta version right now, there'll be another question actually after this where it says, "Would you like to upload any additional materials?" In the version y'all will have, you won't have that. So I would say if you're adding extra information, add it into the very beginning. When it was giving background about the world. Does anyone have any questions while we're just creating the game here? I like this McWorld y'all created.
I'm interested to see the materials.
Me as well. It's always a surprise on my end, what it produces. I personally, so when I create games, I always put in so much background information. And so we put in a little bit of background information here, but not, insane amounts or, moderate amounts because we're just creating this really quickly. So I'm excited to see what it extrapolates just based on that little information.
How much can you jam into those custom prompts that we were making?
So the actual interface you can upload, up to 1,000 pages of information. I don't think that version is available for y'all to use yet, but that's the maximum right now. And 1,000 pages of information is a lot of information. So here is the game. This is the McRare. These are the actions. I'm the referee, and so I will actually be able to send out this game to say I wanted to play this game with each of y'all. I could send this game to each of y'all on, player management. If it loads. Here, I could add you guys as players if I added your emails, and we could actually play the full game here. Super cool. So let's see the documents that are produced. So this is the newsfeed. So the Arctic's New Cold Front, The Struggle for Rare Earth Metals by Dr. Alina Sorensen, an Arctic policy analysis. As the icy expanse of the Arctic melts away, it is replaced by a new frontier, a battle for power, resources, and influence. In the year 2026, the race for controlling rare earth metals, a fundamental component for technological advancement, has turned the Arctic into a geopolitical chessboard, with nations and corporations vying for dominance in this unforgiving landscape. The immediate impact of the Arctic rush is palpable. The once pristine environment is now a theater of conflict. The Denovian Republic, a coalition of Arctic bordering nations, has leveraged its geographical proximity to assert territorial claims and establish strategic outposts. Their actions underscore a commitment to protect their sovereignty and secure the resources that lie beneath the frozen tundra. However, this militaristic approach raises concerns about potential confrontations and long-term consequences for such aggressive expansion. Then we hear about McDonald's, the corporate giant. It's long transcended its fast food origins, pushing for a monopoly on rare earth metal extraction now, trying to turn the Arctic into a corporate stronghold. And we have Blackland, the rogue state known for its unpredictability. Smaller nation of Norway, I like that, looking for a more equitable and sustainable solution. We also have, and so this is the newsfeed that's produced, more things, key players, long-term implications. Question about, is this a new Cold War? Physically and literally. There's an interview with Dr. Ivashkov. Thank you for joining us today. Can you begin by explaining the Novian Republic's current position in the Arctic dispute? The Novian Republic has always been committed to securing its Arctic territories and ensuring the region's resources are managed responsibly. Our position is one of cautious advancement. We prioritize both our national interests and the broader stability of the Arctic. It goes into more specifics here, talks about a human interest story. So talking about their community of Vostok, which is transformed from a remote settlement to a thriving hub for research and innovation. We also have some social media tweets. Ice Queen Eva states, McDonald's in the Arctic, more like McChaos, is nothing sacred anymore. Hashtag Arctic exploitation. Hashtag corporate greed. So, things coming out. These are more Facebook posts we have here. More news feed. And then each team gets a specific team packet. So they get primary goals and strategic objectives. So this is what the Novian Republic is. And these are private intelligence. These are their goals throughout the game. And remember, we gave them less than 6 minutes of information we put in. What they're supposed to do. We also have a scene setter and rules. So this gives background, decision-making process. And then teams put in the action. So we can also have, if sometimes we have teams submitting moves through email as opposed to the player management system we set up. So McDonald's could say, what is something McDonald's could be doing? Does anyone have an idea for turn one? I can create my own idea, but it's more fun when people are engaged.
They probably
search for resources.
They probably bought out a basically they undercut a competitor in a shady way and are attempting to capitalize on that purchase.
Very bullish in the stock market.
Burger Queen, y'all like it? Thank you for the laugh. I heard it. Thank you. McDonald's has undercut Burger Queen, a new competitor in the market, and is attempting to cement its monopoly over its resources. So you can make this private if you would like. So it's private, only visible to the selected team, and then submit. So now this is an action that Team McDonald's has made. And then on my end, I can adjudicate directly. So I can say, Burger Queen seeks revenge. They partner with No Way to pursue a more equitable Arctic. Submit. And so all of this will be this is a referee inject. So all of this will be factored into the next turn. So, you can add other injects. So say there's a huge race for materials now in the Arctic because the big pot of not a pot, a vat of oil has been discovered right above No Way. And No Way says, no, this is mine. McDonald's with the new Burger Queen conglomerate has that. We could have added all of that in here and continued the game. But yeah, that is Providence. That's what y'all all will have access to. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Do y'all have any questions or anything I can discuss with y'all?
Are your inputs as the referee given more weight than the other inputs?
So
or do
as
you
a
have to manage those?
Yeah, so right now we have the refer. I agree, it's also amazing and cool. Thanks for the comment. But I completely agree, or not completely agree. So right now, the referee, and in the future likely too, the referee is the one who's deciding the trajectory of the game. So kind of like the D&D master, you know, the person pulling all the strings. That's what you are here. So say I was playing this game with all of y'all. I created the game. I sent the game out to each of you guys. Y'all are all playing it in your respective teams. Y'all can be on teams together. And then I'm adjudicating on the back end. Eventually the AI, and the AI actually is adjudicating right now all by itself. We're still testing some of the new features for that, but I'm adjudicating as the referee. How many games can an individual run and create at one time? Infinite right now. So you could be running and creating many different games. I can actually, let me share my screen again. Did that answer your question, Adrian? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, when you say adjudication, right? Like, let's say that action to, I'm leveraging this to gain more power over a specific resource.
Mhm.
Would you tell Providence that McDonald's action was successful and they now are in a dominant position? Or would you have to, or would you be less specific, I guess?
So as the referee, I can do either. Primarily myself, I would be more specific. The games are the quality of the input as the game designer improves by the quality of the output
Right.
improves by the quality of the input. So I would be more specific. I would say exactly what happened, but the AI can adjudicate by itself. So if that move did happen, the AI would use our algorithm and kind of determine like what is the most likely event in result, and then it would create the next turn.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can actually share my screen again. And then
Let's say that you're unhappy with how they produced the second turn. It's going in a direction that you didn't want or the sponsor didn't want. Is there a way for you to sort of retcon that before it goes to the players?
Absolutely. So you can edit them, or I don't know yet, but in the next few weeks, you'll be able to edit the materials directly in the application. And then before any of them are sent out to players, you can look over all of them if you would like. Which I agree is something really important. Like, I don't fully trust any AI, really. I would want to look over everything ahead of time just because I want to make sure, wording is correct and the themes are carried through. Like, no matter how much I trust the product we're producing, it's at the end of the day, it's on me as the referee or the game designer. So I look over everything before I send it out. And you can also add, this feature is available now. You can actually add your own document. So say you wanted to add a document in the newsfeed about, let's say, a new country, Rustland. Let's just make that out. Rustland is coming into the fold and entering the Arctic, and you write an article, you can add it to the newsfeed directly if you want to write something on your own.
We had a couple more questions in the chat. So Cassie's asking, oh, sorry, you already answered that one, but Bradley, max number of players per game?
Max number of players right now, I actually don't have an answer for that. I can get back to you. I know you can do it. I think it's as many as you want right now. I don't think there's a max. I know you can do at least 5, just because I know that's the max we put on. But I'm pretty sure you can do as many as you want.
Okay. And then Sean asks, can you set up a game like Diplomacy with a map and pieces, but no specific kinetics?
So there's no visuals currently on the game. That is something we'll be putting on soon. I don't know if we're ever going to be moving over to the map side, but we might. This is more of a narrative builder and games in that sense kind of way. We do partner actually with companies who are looking to do more of the kinetics map pieces side of things, but right now that's not our focus. Yeah.
And then Julian says, has the system been tested in a Model UN setting? To me, it sounds perfect for that, and it's the best piece of software they've ever seen in regards to that.
Thanks, Julian. I appreciate that. It has not yet. It is something, people very close to me have said that previously, that, this sounds like it should be used in Model UN. So we have not done that yet, but I think it's something we're definitely looking into, or I am personally looking into. If you have any ideas, happy to hear.
And then Nathan wants to know, do the players need a license to play and participate, or can they join as long as the host has a license?
I'm almost positive that players do not need a license to participate.
Okay.
So they can just play.
And Andrea is asking if you could share your insights about provenance, biases, and the risks associated with large language models.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important and good question. Like, I like to think about this as the Facebook approach, social media approach. 20 years ago, social media was this amazing apparatus. Facebook was going to revolutionize the future, but no one thought about the terrible impacts, or no one thought enough about, at least, the terrible impacts it was going to have on mental health. No one thought about the, impacts it is going to have on how the negative parts of Facebook. And so I think I see LLMs a lot in the same way. And Providence as well. We need to be having these conversations about their biases and risk. This goes to the next question. Providence is trained on different versions of ChatGPT currently. We're testing out a few different other models, but our base is on another LLM, and then we put our own code on it, our own backend engineering on it. Yeah, I appreciate that, Kevin. But so the biases inherent in ChatGPT, which I've noted and are distinct, run through to Providence. I think another thing that as game designers, actually all of us need to realize is that we bring our own biases too. So through the LLM, those biases are going to pop up. So, if someone has a more liberal or conservative leaning and they add that tone, or, more negative comments on even just in tone, I think that's something people don't realize is the way you interact with an LLM will make a difference. So if I use positive action verbs, well, and I'm talking about, the Tories, and I use negative action verbs when I'm talking about the Whigs, the LLM's going to pick that up in a way that you might not really realize inherently. And so it's our personal biases that I think are really reflected there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Going once.
Yeah, and I'm going to put my... Oh, yes, sorry. Did someone say something?
I have one if we have time.
Yeah.
I have a question not so much about Providence, but about running the style of game where you said that you produce large quantities of background documentation. Have you ever had experience where some of the players don't read it and then or don't read all of it, and so they want to do something or try to do something that's somewhat precluded by the background information that they've... Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. So I want to frame it in two different ways. So we give materials to participants ahead of time. I would say it varies, but only between 30 and 70% of participants read the materials ahead of time. Not every person is going to read the materials ahead of time. We try to make the amount we give ahead of time manageable. We generally run games in a collaborative setting, so more team-based games. So there's always someone on the team who will have read that and can serve as that barrier. I think as, we run more individual games, like someone said, that game we just created, one person maybe on No Way, one maybe on the Denovian Republic. They might not have read everything ahead of time. That can, be an issue. But so that kind of mitigates that problem. When the second part of the question is when I was talking about, large quantities of background information, that's held personally. So we have those materials that people can pull on, and if they pull on them, I'll give them. It's also something that we use to train the LLM. So, those 6, I created a character called Rohan Champlain Kesteri. He's my favorite character I've ever created. He is a scientist at the North American Directed Energy Research Center, which is developing directed energy weapons. Big storyline. The background on him is like 6 pages long. That is being put into Providence to help train them. So they produce tweets, they produce content that is more akin to what he would actually say in his personality, his wants, his feelings, but that is not inherently given to, and it's not given to the participants. So I think one thing we need to be cognizant of is making sure we're giving enough materials so it's not overwhelming, which is what I said. But even if that people don't read those, that's mitigated by the fact that, there are barriers on either side with those other people who might be playing the game.
Just as a total side note, I found your characterization of things as barriers super interesting, and it's given me some things to think about over the next few days, especially rules as barriers.
Yeah, I think as someone who, so to be blunt, like I said, this is my second time ever using Discord. Really, I have never played a video game in my life, except maybe once or twice. I do not have that is not my background. I think it helps me have a really different perspective. A lot of people, as I talked about, democratizing access and making things more available to people. They need to be available to people. Like I've learned how to, a lot of the lingo, but available to people who don't have maybe the same background. And I see rules, not always, but often as, a barrier to entry. Especially as, like I said, I really see simulations and active training as the way of learning in the future. And so, trying to bring down those barriers or those concerns, those things that may stop someone from, engaging, are something I not always, but often try to make sure I do. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, she dropped her email in the chat here, so if you do have any follow-up questions or you want to have more conversations and pick her brain about game design, feel free to reach out to her. It went longer than I expected, but that's a good thing because I think everybody was super interested, myself included, in this presentation. So in lieu of me keeping people here past 8 p.m., I'm just going to thank her for her presentation and tell everybody that I will be posting last year's video that I would have essentially created tonight after this in the chat, as well as the optional assignments. You're going to have 2 options to pick from, A or B. And then once she gives me the licenses to give access to you guys, or I might just give her all of your emails if that's easier, just keep a lookout for that as well to get access to Providence. But yeah, once again, I appreciate it, Eleanor.
Thank you guys so much. Apologies if that went a little long. I just think it's a really interesting topic, and I think y'all all, I believe, thought it was interesting as well. So.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. Yeah, I think everybody had a good time, so I appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.